Welcome back to the Strat Show,
Yep,
everybody. You got
that's
Sean
right.
Lyons, Lee Payton here, ready
That's right.
for. Oh, I don't even know what episode we're on right now, but we got to be close to 20 now. I think got to be close somewhere around 15. I think episode 15.
So this is what is it now? October
Yeah.
15th. Number 12 went out yesterday, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, we're cruising there. I think they say that most shows don't make it past. Well, most don't make it past 6. There's like all these milestones in the industry. It's like you get to 6 or 7, then people usually give up because it's a lot of work and they're not having fun or they run out of content ideas. And then the other milestone is 20 or 21, and that's when people are like, fuck it. Because there are times, and we've been lucky because we've just know a lot of people. But there are times when shows go out and like you have 0 views or 0 listens, and that goes back to our whole thing about sometimes you just have to keep going even when nothing's happening, and it sucks.
Yeah, well, and I think a big thing too is I'm assuming the story I'm creating in my head is I think the reason why a lot of people end up quitting their podcast is because this is definitely a long-term game. Like we're not hoping to monetize this and make money off this for the foreseeable. I don't know how long it's going to be. We might not ever make money off this. It might just be a fun little passion project. But I think a
Right.
lot of people, I think the vast majority of people that start podcasts are they see how lucrative it can be, how it can help their reach, their SEO, their clientels, and then after a while they'll just end up kind of quitting because they're not. It's taking a lot. It takes a lot of time. He says a lot of time in editing, recording, setting things up, and if they don't see results right away, that instant gratification of like, oh, I'm not making any money off of this, and I'm running. There's not enough time in the day. I'm going to focus my attention on things that can generate me money, and this is usually one of the things that gets cut off the very beginning. Right.
Oh, for sure. That's why I have a lot of respect for people who write novels, because you can write for years and not like obviously if you're Stephen King or somebody that knows that they're going to get an advance or they're going to make millions of dollars no matter what he puts out. It's people are going to buy it. But if you're newer and you're only 2 or 3 books in and you're just like writing and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this for 18 months and then work on it for another half a year with my editor and put it out with no guarantee of anything. There could be 0 that comes out of it. This isn't as dramatic as that. And the AI tools, we use Riverside and a couple other things and all these little gadgets. And you should see the lights I have behind me. I look like an influencer with all my ring lights and everything here, but it's actually hurting my eyes. I need to put my blue light glasses on. But so there's a lot of tools these days that make this a lot easier and more accessible for people. And it's definitely not that much of a heavy lift, the editing, but it still takes time, right? It's still time you're not getting paid for and everything else, to your point. So
Yeah, I got one ring light and we haven't even set it up properly. It's wedged between the wall and the printer above me, so it's just kind of like the little mount that holds on, just like wedged in there. So it's not even aiming at me, but it creates enough little light and it works. I mean, we're in Mexico, so unless it's raining, it's always kind of natural, good lighting. So it's pretty good here. But yeah,
sure.
it's funny. Like I think we've talked about this on a few different podcast episodes. So like the instant gratification that people have, and even if something that is going to be very beneficial for them, it's a great way to express yourself. It's a great way to get yourself out there, people to see who you are, know you, trust you. If you don't generate money off something like that within the first month or two, it falls on the wayside. You're like, this is just it's just I'm going to focus on, and that's how you stay in that rut. That's how you stay in that little rat race. Is like you don't give new things enough time to populate and generate and grow. That you just focus on. And I've done it before in my life too. You just focus on what you know, what works, and you just keep doing that little rat race circle over and over and over again. And it's funny. It's the mindset of the human race, and
Yeah.
I'm guilty for it. I've done numerous times, and I'm sure you have. And it's
Well, it comes back to comfort zone. Like I want to do this other thing over here, but this is working. I've got a couple of clients I work for now that I haven't really named. Well, one of them of because Corey and I worked for him when I was down there, and I had to do something for him this week. And I just cursed the entire time. The guy wants to get on a call and all these other things I don't like about working. The thing is, I know better and I hate it. But I'm like, well, it's going to be an easy maybe $1,000 or something like that. And I'm like, God damn it, if I would just go do something else or maybe prospect and try to get somebody better. But you know what I mean? Same thing. We're stuck in the loop of we know the money's coming from there. We know or whatever it is. It doesn't need to be money. We're going to get results out of that one thing. Even those of us that I think are a little bit better at taking chances and doing things still do the same shit. So
yeah. It's funny. As soon as you said a quick, easy $1,000, the first thought that came to my mind was like, do you remember when, like, back in the day when $1,000 actually meant something? Like, it lasted forever.
yeah.
Nowadays, like, like a quick thousand. Like, oh my god, that's like I'm broke after $1,000. It's just with inflation, cost of living, like $1,000. I remember when I was in high school, I worked at McDonald's when I was like 15. And my 2 week paycheck was like $850, and I was like a king. I was buying booze, I was driving around, I was going to the lake. I was having such a great time, and it was off $800. I mean, obviously I was living at my parents' house because I was 15, but like money just does not last as it used to these days, as it was back in the day. It doesn't, like, right?
Before this recording, I walked down. There's a nice little coffee shop here in Galveston, which we'll get into in another episode. This place is great. I got nothing but good things to say about it. But I went down and bought this little cappuccino. It's a little baby thing. It's just this big. And it was $7. I was like, fuck,
Oh,
I left a little tip on there, like $1 something tip, because a little, the square machines now, when they point it towards you, like you can choose your tip, which is like kind of convenient actually.
yeah.
But to your point about the money thing, fuck, man, when I was in the military, I was making 12 grand a year. So like $1,000 a month. And after taxes, of course, that was nothing. And then I remember the day, because this is funny, I can tell this now. It's been like 20 something years.
Okay.
My ex-wife and my girlfriend were fighting because I was getting divorced from one and I was with the other one, and they were arguing or something. We were in because we all knew each other, so we were at our place in North Carolina, whatever. I remember I was about to go in my job with government, where my starting salary was like $32,000, but with overtime I could make more. You know how that goes. You worked a lot of overtime in your life too, so you could make a lot more on overtime than you do on your salary. But I remember them fighting, and my girlfriend was like, well, don't worry. She was like trying to say it loud enough for my ex-wife to hear. Like, don't worry, you'll be making 40 grand a year. We'll be able to do it. Like the thought of 40 grand a year, like we were going to be rich or something, and now it's like 40 grand a year. I mean, you can live, but I mean, and now again, we're speaking in terms of the Western society, Canada, the US.
Yeah.
40,000 a year is not nothing, of course, but it's tough. Like, you're not just doing shit. You're not just going off on vacations and having fun whenever you want. You're fucking watching every penny, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Canada, poverty line is like 56,000 a year. If you make less than 56,000 a year, you're considered to be living in poverty. So it's not much. I mean, America might be different. There might be different levels of what they consider poverty, but I'm pretty sure, like, last time I looked, and this was years ago, it might even be more now with inflation. But yeah, like 40 grand, like you could live. You live in low income housing. You can do food stamps. Like, you're not going to die off 40,000 a year. There's people that make $0 a year and live off the government aid systems and just leech from the taxpayer. And it's like, oh, I just can't work. I'm chronic sadness. I'm like, because you're fucking lazy. That's why you're sad.
Either one of our countries does a good job. There's too many people applying for government assistance that they're not looking into it enough. There's people that probably need it that don't get it. And then there's a lot of people that are like, I used to run into this all the time in my old job. You go into this house of people, and like everybody in there is like, they're like, from 16 all the way up to 30. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, oh, we collect Social Security. I'm like, what? So
Yeah.
So it depends. But yeah, that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. But I think today we were going to get into a little bit of the state of the industry now, marketing and whatever, which has been a little tough. I think you also had something that you were going to bring up about the show and monetization, if I remember correctly.
We'll dive into that first topic about like how the industry's changing, and like, we're going to get some pointers on how to, increase your clientele, how to get more clients, to help people to navigate through this and try and work through this. And actually that's where my story's going to come in is through one
Sure.
of the ideas and the tips. We'll get into that after we kind of go in, and it's pretty cool just how the way the world works. But yeah, we definitely want to talk about like how things have been changing with AI, the trajectory of the industry, how it's kind of weeding out like the middle average marketers, and the ones that were not really that good are now using AI to be even better, and the ones that are already really great, they're kind of safe. It's just that middle range you're talking about, right? And I think you're talking more with copywriters, but I think it applies across the board of every industry, really.
It really does. It's been a slow burn too. So ChatGPT came out. I was in Bali. I don't know where you were at the time. We didn't know each other at the time. It's been a few years now. This winter will be like 3 years or something since ChatGPT or OpenAI came out with its platform. And it was pretty good right off the bat. I used it to do a few things. I was like, oh shit, there goes my job. And that hasn't happened, but it's been a slow burn. And I think because it's been slow, it's like that whole, like the frog in the boiling water thing, that people weren't like scared. Because in the beginning, we're like, oh my God, is this even going to be a job anymore? Speaking in terms of copywriting, but it also, like, it could apply to like the stuff that you do, because obviously people can use AI website builders. They're not that great. We've seen that not work well before, but it's not going to get worse. AI is not going to get worse. So, but because it hasn't come on that fast, and there was kind of a lull, like in the beginning, everybody's like, why would I get into copywriting or anything? AI is going to take over. And then it didn't really take over for a while. And now ChatGPT's got their O1 preview out, which is pretty good. It's always a little improvement on the last one. It's not great. I know the anti-AI people, or the people who think that we can just do this job forever, are like, well, it's still not as good as a whatever. Like, yeah, I know that, but it's still getting better. It's not going to get worse, right? Yeah. So that's been a thing lately, and I noticed that I have to do more volume now. So I still have to put my edits and spin on things, but I have to do more accounts. So let's say 5-10 years ago, and this is true because I know people, I was in groups with our teammate, our friend and coworker, Greg. We were in the same copywriting group. Copy Chief, I can name them, they're great. And there were people making, like, they would write a landing page and charge like $3,000, and now it's like you might be able to charge $250 to $500, maybe, if you're really good. Like, I could charge $500, which is still low. I could do it in half a day, you know what I mean? But you just can't do that anymore. You used to be able to sit and write an email sequence and take 3 weeks to do it, and now it's like you can get paid a lot to do email sequences now, but you got to have it done in like 2 days. So what it's really done for people, I think, that are experienced, that are making it now, is now we just have to churn it. We have to do a lot more work. That's not great, because as we all know, task shifting and everything else, that's fucking difficult as well. So yeah, for AI, from a writing standpoint, it's a good tool to use. And you're right about what you said about, and we talked to Chanel last week about this. If everybody wants to check that episode out, she owns a marketing agency in Canada. But we talked about how the middle of the road people kind of got screwed. They're already pretty good. You know, you just got better and were faster. And then the people on the bottom, and I hate to say this, but it's true, like the offshore, like a lot of the people in India, Pakistan, Philippines, whatever, they broke in, they were able to get into the industry more because they're able to use it and do like lower ticket things. So, but as a whole, you can't hide from it. People who think they can hide from AI and think it's not going to take over, that's just foolish. There are people that used to make a lot of money copywriting, and some of them were in the group that Greg and I are in, or were in together, and they were very high ticket, very high price copywriters. And now they're asking, you know, on LinkedIn, they're like, hey, do you have anything you, and the thing is, I don't like that. I think it's sad. I wish I had something I could help them with, but it's just like, well, that's what happens when you just ignore. You can't stop the future, man. You can't fucking stop it. And I'm sure the same thing's happening on your side of things too. Like, you know, maybe some website you could have charged a lot for before is like, oh, well, you know, because you go online, there's a fucking web builder for $10. Not great, but you know what I mean? We're going in that direction. So not to be negative, but you know.
I mean, the thing would be, like, I haven't really found that affect my realm of the website design, because I mean, most of the clientele that I'm attracting and that I'm actually reaching out for and getting as clients, they're wanting more complex design website that need custom coding, stuff like that. So, for example, I just got a client, I won't name them yet, just because I've not completed their project yet, but one of their projects that I'm working on is like building a website that showcases their, you know, boutique hotel down here in Mexico, and they want to have, you know, like a booking calendar system in there, which is pretty basic on any WordPress site, just a basic plugin. But what they want to have now is custom API keys that have to be coded into this website and then linked into Airbnb, Trivago, Expedia, and stuff like that. So people on these other search engines can book their room on, you know, this company's website, and then the calendars can synchronize so that, you know, if they only have 10 rooms available, you know, if someone books on Airbnb, someone books in Trivago, then on their actual website calendar, it still shows that those dates are not available, so they don't get double bookings. So things like that, there's just, you know, where AI can't do that yet. So there's the complexity of the websites. I mean, there will, again, I'm not saying there won't be a time. There probably will be a time where there's some robot that can just go boop, 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 plug all this shit in. But until then, it hasn't affected me that much. Now, again, for like, you know, the person who has a landscaping business in a small town that wants a quick, you know, GoDaddy website with a custom, you know, like a $200 or $500 website or $100 website. Sure, AI can, you know, the Wix, you know, you punch in your name, a brief description, your service area, and then AI will like generate the website and put the wording in for you. There's that, but it's very basic. So I think, again, like we were saying, people that, you know, build websites that are more at the lower tier, you know, the offshore developers, the offshore web builders, the people that are just getting in the industry that, you know, are doing these very simple websites, it's eliminating them completely. But the more advanced attributes, it's still a profession you need. The thing is, like you're saying, like those copywriters that had, you know, their top tier, high price point, they ignored AI and they did not integrate that into their business, because like, I am better than the machine, I'm going to keep doing this, and that's why they died out.
Yep.
because they didn't incorporate, they didn't find ways to actually help AI do some research for them, some fact checking to be able to put into it. They can do all the copy themselves, but use AI as a tool. And so I think that's what's happening with a lot of web developers. If you're like, I'm using AI to help me get idea researching, backlinking, whatever it might be, but I'm still doing the building myself, or my developers are. So you need to really like be able to like grow in this industry. You need to, they realize that it's not going anywhere. It's gonna get better, and you have to incorporate the tools that you have. Because if you don't, you're gonna be like those people you talked about, and you're sink or swim, and you're gonna be trying to swim with an anchor on your weight, and you're gonna
Yeah.
sink.
It's the belligerence, I think, and just the attitude of some people. Like, oh, or like I've actually seen people position themselves this way. Like, I don't use AI for anything. I'm like, well, if I was a client, a smart client should be like, why wouldn't you use something to get you a head start? Like let's say somebody's like,
Yeah.
hey, can you code this website from scratch? I'm like, well, yeah, but it's going to take 3 months. Like, why wouldn't I start from a template? Right? So what can be done about this, right? Like, what can people do to help themselves kind of stay ahead of the curve? And again, it's not easy, and it just takes a lot of work, but a lot of it comes down to relationships, keeping long-term relationships. And this goes for anything. Like, marketing is not just a one and done thing. If you hire a marketing team, like you said, if you're a small landscaping company, they just need a place where they can have their contact form, have their address, maybe some reviews. They don't need some big elaborate thing. But if you're a business that's trying to grow and you have a product or whatever it is, or coaching, whatever it is that you do, you kind of need a long-term relationship with the team, whether it's your web builder, your writer, or a combination, because things are going to change over time. And you want somebody that you can call and say, look, I need this done. And I know Sean built this website. So if something goes wrong, I know that he knows how to fix it because it's his site, as opposed to going and doing like a one-off thing and like, well, now I'm screwed. I have to bring in somebody anyway. So I think the key to survive all this is to build some relationships. And I know you've got some thoughts on like setting up a referral thing, and
Mhm.
just really, if you if you don't have a lot of clients, like sometimes over delivering is not giving somebody more, it's doing what you do better. So like, hey, I've only got a few clients. Well, okay, if they're good clients, you don't have to give them more, whatever, just do better at what you do, and like show them like, hey, I'm here in the long term. So that's how I've survived. I've got long-term clients now, and it's worked out. I've had to concede a lot of things, I've had to give a lot, I've had to work and volunteer and do a lot of things, but with the end in mind. But that whole like churn and burn thing, you just can't pull off anymore. But I know you had some ideas on referral programs, because we've been looking at it ourselves.
So I mean, one of the big things for like the people that are doing the ongoing clients, some people they have they might be in a profession, and I was guilty of this too. When I would build a website, that would be the end of the project. I would like this, hey, I need a website. I'm like, okay, awesome, sounds good, and then they build the website, and that would be the end of the contract. So you have to start being more creative and thinking like, well, how can I provide value and service to this person that just built a website for, and keep money coming in monthly from them? So maybe you can offer them SEO services. Maybe you can offer them a monthly web maintenance fee, like for 100, especially depending on again on the website, 100 to 500 a month to go in and if they have any edits or they want some changes made, depending on the industry that they're in. But you have to offer them these packages, because if you just say, here's your website, here, thank you very much, that's the end of it. So, and even if you don't know how to do SEO, you can outsource the SEO, go to Upwork, go to Fiverr, try and find someone that from overseas that can do SEO work. And they obviously charge a lot less. Like, I have developers that I pay between 15 to 30 an hour. My rate's between 75 to 100 an hour. So I'm still profiting money, even though I'm not doing the majority of the work. And I oversee everything as well. So, and even I don't just like hand them off a project and say, okay, client, here it is. I check these things. But really, realistically, like, finding a way that you can provide ongoing support for them is the best thing to do. And one of the strategies I had as well is, I was even the clients that from like a year ago, 2 years ago, if I just built them a website and that was the end of it, I didn't ever reach back out to these people, be like, hey, how's your website? Do you need any help? Do you need any help with some marketing stuff? So I've been going back to like my old clients over the last few months and reaching out like, hey, Bob, how's it going? I just read, I want to check in with your website, seeing how it's going. It's been a couple years since we built that. Is there any things you want to change on there or edits done? And half the time they say, yeah, actually, I want to do this, but I didn't know. So I'm a little tired today, so my brain's not firing off great. But one of the things that most of the clients said back to me was that they thought that I was too busy, so they didn't reach out. So that's a very key lesson when I started reading this. I'm like, oh, So here they are. These people think that I'm way too busy, which sometimes I am. But there's obviously for people. This is a strategy for people that are looking to like get more money, right?
Yeah.
Your client doesn't know how busy you are, or if you're not busy, or if you're too busy. And so when I started hearing people saying, I actually I had work to do, but I didn't want to reach out because I thought you were too busy, that a light bulb came on.
It's like relationship communication, right? It's like, oh, I thought you were thinking this. Like two people thinking the other one's thinking this. It's the same shit. It works in business too.
100%. Yeah. So that was a big realization. I'm like, oh, shit. So I went back and then, went back and asked, started reaching out to my clients, like, hey, I just, rebuilt this website for you. Do you need any help with SEO? Because now that we have the agency, do you need help with marketing? Do you have any help with this? Here's the next step. Even if they say no to that, the next thing that you should do is, do you know anybody else that could benefit from these services? So you offer them first. You reach out to them, ask them, "Hey, do you need any of this? Do you need A, B, C, or D?" If they say no, if they say yes, awesome. You work with them. If they say no, ask them, "Do you know anybody else that could benefit from these services?" And just be like, look, right now I'm sitting at about 60 to 80% capacity in my workload. I'm looking to take on some more clients. I'm looking to grow my portfolio. I'm looking to coach more people. Whatever your offer might be, just let them know that, hey, look, I have the space, I have the ability and the capacity to take on more clients. Do you know anyone that could benefit from my services? And this is where I was kind of getting into the referral thing, is you can even come up with a referral package. Like if you do know someone and if they reach out to me, refer them to me, and they, buy my package for whatever amount it is, I'm willing to give you a 10% referral fee or a 15% referral fee. Because I think we talked about this in, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, a month ago. People are motivated by money. They really are. They want money.
Yeah.
So if you say, hey, look, because if you say, hey, would you go out of your way, for the kindness of your heart, to try and find me more clients so I make money? People are going to be like, maybe. We might have some nice people that might do it. But if you give them incentive, like, hey, look, like my top package is $20,000 and I'm going to offer you 20%. Who's going to say no to that? Or 15% or 10%? That's an easy $2,000 to $4,000 in their pocket just for reaching out to someone and sending them your direction. So I think referral is a very big key to this.
For sure. Always incentivize. Always incentivize. A big mistake, or it's not like doesn't really affect you that much. Let's say you're on a call with a client. They're like, I love everything you do. This is great. I'm going to tell all my friends and family. They mean it when they say that. They mean that they want to. Then they get off the call and they go about their lives and they forget, or they're like, oh, I'll get around to this later. There are a lot of people. There's some clients that we have now and some friends that we have now that are like, oh, this is so great, though. People should just want to share it. Yes, they should just want to share it. But, like just with me, if you had something like, hey, I need you to do this, I'm like, all right, cool. And it's like, hey, you're going to get $100. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm doing that right away. There's no harm in it, because if it's a percentage, that's money you wouldn't have had before. You're not losing money. You're not paying them for, what I mean? It all comes around in the end. It's perfect. Referral systems and affiliate programs. You guys have a dog there?
Yeah, we got a dog. Yeah. Just random bark, so I'm going to mute myself.
That's funny. No, that's funny. I didn't realize you guys had a dog. Yeah, that's what kind of dog is it?
Cute little white thing. I have no idea what kind it is. Well, I was told what kind of dog she is, but I forget.
One of those Mexican mutts, all mixture.
This is an American dog. Want to say hi? Here's Bella.
Oh my gosh. That's some kind of terrier. Yeah, look at that. Essentially, it's good to incentivize people no matter what, even if it's small. And again, if you have a referral program, or it doesn't have to be a program, it doesn't have to be formal, but if you have a referral idea, and again, these are things that should come up, and we've learned this the hard way. When you come towards an end of a contract, we'll use you as an example, but let's say we're working on something together. I'm writing the website, you're building the website, and that's all the person needs. The smart thing to do is, okay, let's start thinking about what we're going to offer them next. Like, okay, here's your site, but how about ongoing this or that, or how about ongoing strategy? Or if you don't want to pay monthly, how about we put a meeting on the calendar for 90 days? We'll check back in with you. We'll see if you need something then, because to your point, maybe they do need something and they're just not reaching out, but the referral thing comes into play there. Again, you don't lose any money, because you don't owe them any money unless they bring you money in. So it's really a win-win. And that's a good way to keep clients moving along, especially because the industry's lagging right now. In a way, it's kind of comforting, because I slowed down as well. So when people are like, oh, the industry sucks, nobody's getting jobs, I'm like, okay, well, that makes me feel better. It's not just me sucking. But so it's a thing. It's a thing. And a good way to, again, some of the tools we're mentioning here: referrals, building a long-term client relationship. And you can learn strategy. You can you can use AI for this. If you're one of those people that really wanted to pick a niche, which is now is not the best thing. I know that I'm going against a lot of what popular opinion was a few years ago, like you have to niche down, and that stupid saying, the riches are in the niches, or some stupid like that. But really, like, to be a generalist or to have like a team, like you said, you could hire people on Upwork and Fiverr, you can pull it together. You don't need to know everything that day. Now, you don't need to necessarily lie to clients. Chanel did a good job on our last show talking about how she's very honest, but she'll be like, well, I'm not sure about this particular aspect. I've never done this before, but I'll find somebody who can, because people don't want to, if they hire Sean Lyons for a website, people don't want to like, okay, now I got to go find somebody else for this. And if Sean's like, well, you know what, I have somebody, you only have to deal with me. Like, I'll be your single point of contact and we'll make it happen. As opposed to, I got to pay all these different people. They'd be in all these different contracts. They would much rather you come to them and say, I don't know how to do this, but I have somebody who can. I will do the final review, so you don't have to worry. If you have questions, I'm your guy. You come to me. But they're more than likely going to stick with you and use that option versus going and interviewing and hiring somebody totally new, you know?
Again, the people we're talking to, we're all, me and Lee here are assuming that you guys all do good work and you're straight up honest people. But if you're
Yeah,
not,
if you
then this
suck,
isn't gonna fly. You
leave the
suck.
channel right now. Unsubscribe right now. No, we've all sucked at one point or another. We
Not so
all
much the
suck.
sucking part, but if you're not honest, you're not authentic, and you're not true to your word, then all these tactics that we're teaching you are going to be useless. Because if you're just lying and manipulating, then nothing here is going to work. So the big thing about that is being honest, like you said with Chantel. And I've done this before too. It's like something that's even with the custom API keys that I was talking about into like Airbnb and Trivago and stuff like that. I don't know how to fucking do that at all. Like, I've never done that before. But I told the client I have developers, and prior to signing the contract, I reached out to my developers, sent them exactly what I want done. Like, listen, we're going to be building a website. They want it on this site, this site, this site. Can you do it? How much is it going to cost? What's your timeline? Yes, we can do it. This is how much it's going to cost. This is the timeline. So I got confirmation from the people that I said that I could do this before I sent the contract out. I said, I don't know how to do it. I'll find out for you. I have teams that can do this. I have developers. I have a marketer or whatever it might be. Like, I know someone that can do this. Let me confirm that we can do this first, and then we can move forward. So always make sure before you even go forward with that contract, to be integrity with yourself, make sure that your team can actually do that. Don't over deliver, don't over promise and under deliver, under promise, over deliver. So you always want to do. You always want to do that. You don't be like, oh yeah, we can build you a fucking rocket ship. And then you're like, I got to find some astronauts from Germany. Like, we got to get some of the Nazis over here to build NASA for us. Like, you don't want to go down that road, right? You want to be very authentic with yourself.
That really happened.
It really did. You look at some of the old the Oppenheimer project, but if you look at some of the old NASA generals like in the United States, they're all like these ex-Nazi, like the sword scars on their face and stuff like that. They look rough. Like,
well, we brought over Werner von Braun from the and all those Operation Paperclip, I think it was called. I used to read all this stuff. So yeah, we did. We took them all, but they all defected. Which that's not what this show is about, but it's true. Yeah, you got to find the best people. But yeah, so essentially just don't be in denial about AI. And so what I do, because it is overwhelming, like just all the advancements, and I use AI as a blanket term for just anything in technology that's getting better that could affect your job. What I do, and you can even use AI for this, you can use ChatGPT and ask it to say, hey, research today and tell me what's new in AI this week for this platform and others. And I also get a newsletter. I forget who it's under, but you get little updates. So every morning I just like, hey, what's new today? What could I be doing on the AI front just to stay up to date with that? You don't have to think like, oh my God, I have to go do all this research. Like, you don't, because people are out there boasting about their shit and their tools all the time. So you can find that stuff easily. But building the long-term relationships, this isn't the kind of industry anymore, at least in our opinions, that you can just do a one and done and then be okay. You really want to shoot for those long-term relationships. And even if you have a satisfied client and they never need you and never need to pay you to do anything ever again, they know people. They're again, like with the referral or everything else, you're going to run into people that like, hey, my buddy needs this or that, and you can live off referrals if you do a good job and you're honest. And if you screw something up, if you admit it, if all the things you said about just try to be a good person. We're not perfect. Just try to be as good a person as you can. You will get referrals in. Then you don't have to go and spend all these hours on LinkedIn, like, eggplant. Do you need a fucking website bullshit,
The water emoji.
Splash. It's not perfect. I'm not saying it's not scary. I'm not saying the industry hasn't gotten a little rough. We're also in the middle of an election, so the whole world is
Ugh.
like wondering what's going to happen with the economy. Probably nothing. Everything's just going to keep going, just like everything else. Whatever happens,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the world's just going to continue on. But business owners get nervous. They don't necessarily want to hire or spend a lot of money right now. Also, the holidays are here, so people are like, okay, I have this chunk of money. Do I want to spend it on gifts and everything else and holiday family? You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird time of year for that as well. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Next thing I'm going to talk about is a good strategy as well for, if the referral thing doesn't work, if your outreach, the clients you work with don't need any more work as well, look into like collaboration. So this is kind of going to the story I want to talk to you about today, actually, too, is collaborating and doing a service for service trade. So what that means is that way you're not hiring anyone to do a job for you and they're not paying you. You're just swapping service for service. So yesterday when I was out finishing the gym, I had met up with a client of mine, a real estate agent down here. I'm building out, doing all his listings and stuff for his website. He wanted to introduce me to this guy that he met that monetizes and starts up YouTube channels. So he actually does YouTube channels for like gyms, fitness industries, real estate agents and whatnot. He actually worked for Netflix for 5 years in Canada as a makeup and hairstylist and then got into the film industry through that. So this guy's got a portfolio that just blow you out of the water. So I met him and I knew him from Canada. We met 10 years ago on a boat party, which is wild.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's only like 100 of you up there anyway.
Yeah,
So.
like, Bob from Saskatchewan. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what happened is he's got this laundry list of clients that he works with that their websites are terrible, and he does all SEO monetization, YouTube monetization within all of that films. Creates like he blows up YouTube channels, and that's what he does. That's his main bread and butter. But a lot of the companies he works with, they have shitty websites. And so his website also sucks because he knows nothing about websites. So I told him, like, well, actually, we have a YouTube channel, we have our podcast as well. Maybe you can come in, give us some pointers of what you would see as a trajectory to help work with this, because we're good at what we do. But I've seen his accounts; he's got like millions of subscribers and all of his channels that he's created for these people, and it's just wild, right? And obviously his drone footage and his videography and his editing is really really amazing as well, because he's on like an on scene worker. So he said, well, how's this? Why don't you help me with my website? Take a look at this. I'll take a look at your channel. And then, any clients that I have that need web development and stuff like that, we can send them to you. Any clients that you need, that might need like some, drone footage. And because he travels all around Latin America, we could, swap clients. I'm like,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great win-win. It's all in furtherance of whatever business you're in. Because again, it's just like having an internal team and people that but if you don't have that, somebody else out there, there's willing to swap and just kind of get you that traction that you need and everything else. So no, that's perfect. That's perfect. And it's more fun that way too. It's just expanding your network and shit like that, especially network.
He worked like his portfolio is unreal. But the fact that like he offered before even doing the service for search trade, he's like, I got lots of clients that their websites are terrible. Their YouTube channels are great, but their website sucks. And I'm like,
yeah.
We could help with their website, their copy. We could do their marketing for them. Because if he just does YouTube and that's it, YouTube videos and YouTube channels, that's a specialty. But and a lot of people, again, and this might go back into the beginning of our episode where it's kind of a long-term gain because there's no money involved. So if you want to work on his project, he's going to help you with yours. There's no transaction of money, so people might not see the benefit right away with that. They're like, well, I'm going to put 20 hours into his site or 20 hours into helping him with this if I'm not getting any money. But the long-term effects of that, you're building a relationship, you're building connections. Like I just saw a brief snippet of the clientele that he works with, and he works with like Simca, major developers and stuff like that, like huge, massive corporations and companies. So the exposure you can have by connecting and collaborating with different people, it might open you up to a whole new network of entrepreneurs, a whole new network of business associates. It's one of the greatest ways to grow your business, especially I've been running off referrals, collaborations, and just word of mouth for 4 years now. I haven't ran a single paid advertisement on any social media platform in about 5. Well, I actually haven't ran ads in 8 years since I did affiliate marketing 8 years ago.
That's a really good point, because you do get a lot of business that comes in just off of, like, you could be in the gym and run into somebody and like, oh, like I need this or need that. And whether it pans out or not, it's still like people know what you do and they come to you for it. And when they see you, But no, that's a good point about the collaboration stuff. It is a long game, but the thing is, how long do you want your shit to drag out for? So let's say we do a partnership with this guy, which sounds amazing, and he's able to help us get somewhere in 6 months that would have taken us 18 months, and all we had to do is put in a couple of hours of work, of stuff we're already good at. But again, you're right. People want the instant gratification. So you just have to really start thinking long term, which is really fucking hard because I don't do it all the time either. I want instant gratification too, right? So
Oh yeah, especially with like we just talked about the industry being slow across the board everywhere. Like people are like scraping by and doing project to project and paycheck to paycheck. It's hard to even fathom the idea of working without getting paid in hopes that it will turn into something in the future. So it's really it's tough. Like it's even tough for me. Like sometimes I'm sitting there, I'm like, like what was it last night? We went to go play a board game for 4 hours. I'm like, I could be working right now and reaching out, but I'm like, you know what? This board game's gonna be good. It was called Cash Flow. It's kind of like Monopoly on steroids. It's really cool actually. It's like you gotta you go around you gotta get out of the rat race, and you gotta you get your paycheck, and then you have dividends, and you can buy houses and sell them, and buy stocks and sell trade stock. It's a really intricate game, and it's a really fun. But because of that,
sounds like work.
It kind of was. There was some math involved. I had to do some adding. No calculators allowed. You had to do your all in the brain thinking stuff.
Jesus. All right.
But yeah, I met a couple new cool people that might need some projects, and then I learned some new tricks about buying and trading certain stocks at different prices. So it was just collaborating on that too. It was really really beneficial. And I think again that's a long term gain. So people are focusing on what can I do right now that'll pay me tomorrow, instead of what can I do right now that's going to set me up in the future for great success. It's just about right now, tomorrow, right now, tomorrow. And I lived that life for a year or so when I was living in a motorhome in a trailer, because I had $100 in my name. I was broke as fucking shit. I had nothing. So there's no way. I literally was eating rice and beans. I couldn't even think about what am I going to do? I just started meditating. So that's going to help me become a better. No, I was focused on surviving. So it's hard to get out of that. I know that. So people that are in that mindset, they're just in survival mode. It's very tough to get out, but it's a lot better when you do.
When you're in survival mode, your world's real fucking small, man. Like back in my Florida days when I was just working long hours just so I could, party and drink booze, I was thinking 1 week ahead. What are we doing next weekend? And then once I broke out of that, I'm not saying I'm the healthiest now, but I'm much healthier than I was back then. Once I broke out of that, I'm like, oh, shit, I need to start thinking about 5, 10, 20, 30. I'm like, God, which is overwhelming as shit. So you still have to do your day-to-day things. You still have to have what am I going to accomplish today? And you can do both. You could do things that make you money right now. Every time that we've done something where we put in some free work, for the most part, is either A, it's paid off in exponentially in the long run, or we've learned a lot from it, and it's just practice. It's what I used to tell writers, and again, some of this applies to before AI, but some people would say well, I don't have a portfolio. I was like, well, okay, well, this is one of the things Greg and I learned in our group that we were in. Well, just make a fake one where you're not lying to the customer. You're writing out what you would write their emails. And you could pick a company. You could pick Coca-Cola, fucking, whatever stupid company you want to pick, and then write out emails for them or whatever. And then if you have a client prospect, you can write their emails well, what if they don't like them or they don't take them? Okay, well, great. Well, you still got practice doing it, So again, easy for me to say right now. It still sucks at the time.
Yeah, it's tough because it's I think because most of us were raised in a society you got paid X amount of dollars per hour. I was always an hourly employee. I was never salary. I was always hourly. So I knew if I worked 10 hours, I made $300 before tax. Yep. So it was 110 with Canadian taxes, but you knew what you're getting paid. So to try and break out of that cycle and that, that mindset of, I'm putting in 20 hours of work and I'm getting zero, you're just it doesn't seem fair. But guess what? The world's not fucking fair. Nothing's fair. Nothing. The only thing that's fair is the work that you do and the impact you make and the message you send out. And you don't get anything back from your efforts in actual physical money. The karmatic exchange, right? You're giving something in hopes of nothing in return, or maybe you hope in return, but you're not. The effort you're putting in isn't based on the outcome of you making money. That's going to dictate your business. If you do something with if it turns into something awesome, that's going to allow more stuff to come to you, more things to flow to you. But if you're just focused on, I'm only doing this for this amount and I'm not budging, the universe doesn't work like that. It's not going to come towards you.
Yeah, and if we were following all the rules of, we're still in that zone where it's not so much anymore where people feel like they need to go to college, but for a long time, So let's just say, as I don't have a marketing degree, and so all the stuff I've done for free and all the things I've done to help people out, that counts towards my education. But I didn't have to pay for it. I didn't get paid for it, but I didn't have to pay for it either. So there's an advantage there. So I don't know. The world's a weird fucking place. All we can do is kind of stay on top of it and ride the wave, make a bunch of mistakes. There's no like perfect answer for anything. But what's the alternative? You're just going to lay down and not do it?
Those days too, I'm like, you know what? I ain't doing shit. I'm going to fly out. I don't want, but then after a day or two of that, you're like, God, I'm a piece of shit. I got to get out of this. So it's a bad road to get into. But I think that's a good place to end for the day.
Yeah.
I really appreciate everyone that's been following on. We were at I think 26 subscribers already. So for those of you who are watching for free, it doesn't take any time and effort or money out of your pockets just to like, subscribe, follow us. Supports us out. Eventually we're going to be trying getting our goals to be 1,000 and then 10,000 and hopefully into 1 million, down the road in a year. If we only get to 50, so what? We get to 50. But your support would be much appreciated, and it kind of helps us out, gives a little motivation. Like, we got a subscriber. Ooh.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and two, before we say something really stupid and get canceled, I'd love to be at 10 million. Because I want that fall to be hard. I don't want to get canceled at 100. I don't want to get canceled at 100 subscribers. I wanted to hit 10 million, and then all of a sudden, boom, let's blow this thing up. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. We appreciate it. All right, to be continued.